On this episode of the Friend to Friend podcast, we have the one and only Pastor Kirk Jones. He and his amazing wife lead Fellowdhip Church in Louisiana. They are some of the most extremely passionate and zealous people I've ever met. They love serving humanity. Whether it is local outreach or global missions, they are just sold out to taking whatever seemingly random ideas in their heart and chasing them because they know that they are God-given dreams. They are taking these crazy ideas, radical thoughts, and translating them into a way to reach people. This episode is so inspiring. It's all about activating the world changer inside of you. So I hope that you're encouraged and inspired. Get ready. It's going to be awesome. Hey everybody, I'm Tori Townley, and I am here with Pastor Kirk Jones of Fellowdhip Church in Prairieville, Louisiana.
Hey, thanks.
Ascension Parish.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have you on today. You guys are legendary here at Children's Cup. Seriously, we've got lots of fun stories. I love that you guys are actually not far from me. I'm in Gonzales, so I've visited a few times. Y'all rock.
Well, thanks.
Real. For real. We're going to talk about all the fun things today, but will you just tell us a little bit about you, your role, what you do, who you are, family?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm the lead pastor. I started the church. My wife Wendy and I moved here in 2001 to start Fellowdhip Church. Struma Baptist here in Baton Rouge was looking to start a church out there, and they were our sponsor church. And so we got here and we got a small group together and started the church in 2002. We have 3 kids. Daniel was born, Wendy was pregnant with Daniel when we got here, so he was born that year. He's our oldest, he's married, so Daniel and Cassidy, they're in Ruston and are students at Louisiana Tech. And then our second is Melanie. She is a freshman at Louisiana Tech.
Wow.
And then my youngest is Kara. She's a junior at Ascension Christian. So that's kind of our family. I'm from Ruston. That's why they have all ended up at Tech. And so my family's all there. And yeah, I mean, I get to lead. I do get to lead a great church of people. Like, they're incredible people. Like I say something about Fellowdhip Church when I talk to people. I just say, I feel like I'm privileged. I really feel like I get to pastor the greatest people in the world. Like, they're phenomenal. So
I would agree.
I feel really blessed to do what we do.
That is incredible. How did you know you wanted to be a pastor?
Ooh, wow, that's a long, that goes way back.
That's like a very
that goes way back for me.
Choice.
So I was at a youth conference as an 8th grader.
Whoa.
And just felt like there was this invitation that if you felt like this call to ministry, and I just felt like, man, the Lord wants me to do that, and that was the first time I ever expressed, I felt that call. I struggled with it some in that, it's not really the coolest thing to tell all your friends when you're 13, 14 years old, hey, I'm going to be a pastor. But even at a younger age, I felt like I was going to be a pastor because often people say, wow, do you want to be a youth minister, youth pastor? And I was like, no, I think I want to be the pastor. And so awesome. I started fairly young, took my first ministry position at a church when I was 19, the end of my freshman year of college. So this May will be 30 years since I started ministry.
Meant to be a pastor.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And had some ups and downs with it.
I can imagine.
Left that role after a year with no intention to ever be in ministry again.
Whoa. Just
was really not in a great place myself, and had some difficulty kind of relating to how church was done a little bit, but it was probably more personal and sin in my own life that I just wasn't being as real and as authentic as I needed to be, and yet I was being successful at it.
Oh, scary.
Yeah, and I didn't like it, and so I quit, and I was never going to do it again. I was going to be a football coach or a soccer coach or a basketball coach, whatever.
That's a good plan B.
Yeah, I was, because my major was social studies education.
Okay.
And so, but God wouldn't leave me alone. It led for a really dark year for me. But anyway, I went back and God put me in this little bitty church when I'm my senior year in college. I pastored this, so I became a pastor that year. I pastored this little small church out in a Voles parish. Wonderful group of people who loved me and just trusted me and let me preach and do, and just made me fall in love with the local church. So while I was in seminary getting my master's degree out in Southwestern in Fort Worth is where I was in a class and I began to really hear about church planting for the first time. Okay. I'll be honest, growing up where I did, the only new churches you saw were because people got mad at each other at church normally. And so just intentional approach to it. And I just kept dealing with it. Like literally I would go home and I talked to Wendy about these like class projects. And literally one night she finally told me, she said, hey, it's late. If we're going to plan a church, I'll stay up and talk with you about this. But if this is just a school assignment, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep.
Oh my goodness.
And
I love her so much.
She's awesome. She's a straight shooter. And so she went to sleep and I didn't. And the next morning I told her, hey, God wants us to plant a church. And literally she just says, okay, that was it. Like that was...
I love her so much.
Yeah. And so then we moved into a track where I went through the Nehemiah Project with the North American Mission Board and specialized in my master's on church planting.
Okay. Wow. So, what a journey. I'm glad you went back.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I'm glad you didn't go away.
Yeah, I am too. I'm glad the Lord was persistent.
Wow. I want to jump in more about the way that you guys have built your church and the culture. Like I can tell that you have such a pure heart to keep church pure because it can be what it's not supposed to be. And I have seen that when I've visited. But before we do that, we always have to ask this question.
Okay.
The podcast is all about friendship. It's friend to friend, find connection, inspire change. And we want to honor people in our life who have influenced us. So if you had to pick, it cannot be Wendy, it cannot be a spouse. Who is a friend, maybe one of your best friends or someone who has influenced you heavily in your life? Wow. I'm sure you have many. And there's you're a pastor, so there's going to be a lot of people who are like, why did you say me?
Yeah, it's hard because like I have this one friend, it's huge in my life, like because they were my friend from early on.
Okay.
And I love him to death. His name's Shane. But I mean,
hey Shane.
Shane, I love Shane. But I'm gonna have to go with a friend who moved to town when I was a 7th grader and was on fire for Jesus.
Ooh,
his name's Chuck Ham.
I love you, Chuck.
So Chuck was on fire for Jesus, and he was the first guy close to my age I saw really in love with Jesus.
Wow.
And he also dealt with and wrestled with a call to ministry early.
Okay.
Cook Baptist, where we were coming up, there was a whole group of us. I mean, I think at one point we had a class of working through your call to ministry that probably had 14 young people in it. And we probably had a student ministry of about 50. And so God was really doing a work through the church when it, and a lot of those are still, I mean, we have some missionaries around the world out of that same class I was in, that group, an evangelist, another pastor. And so Chuck and I were just really good friends. And so I ended up deciding to go to Louisiana College, now Louisiana Christian University. He was a student there. It's kind of how I got the idea to go there. And we roomed together, and he was in love with the Lord. And, we had Bible studies for guys in our dorm room. He took a youth ministry position before I did. He's a year older than me. Okay. And then I took one, and then, we ended up moving in different apartments for a year, and then we're back together. But somewhere in there, he had some same kind of situation I did, where he went through a season, but he walked away from it for 25 years. And we stayed friends.
Wow.
And over the last 6 years, I've seen him come back to Christ. And he's leading in a new church plant in Texas where he lives. He's not on staff, but...
What?
So I wouldn't be who I am today without that friendship.
Oh my gosh.
And I love him to death. I'm so proud of what I see him doing. And he's really making a lot of difference in the lives of men in particular. Just doing these retreats and stuff. And super proud of him.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
That is so powerful. You just never know, what your own hunger for God can inspire in someone. And it's never too late.
Yeah. So it's interesting, like in high school, I really struggled with who I was supposed to be. And so I kind of went, I was into some partying and things I didn't need to be a part of. And Chuck stayed the course.
Interesting.
And he and his family prayed for me all the time.
Wow.
And then, for those tables to kind of turn, and I just kept praying for Chuck. And so it's just really cool to, have a friendship that's that old. I mean, we've been friends for 37 years probably.
Man.
To see all that.
That's so powerful. That is such
cool.
a beautiful picture of like the power of friendship.
Yeah.
Like never giving up and pointing the person back to their dreams and their callings. Wow.
Yeah. So we talk often. We talk ministry a lot when he calls now versus just, hey, how you doing?
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's so powerful.
Yep.
I love it so much.
So that's who
awesome.
I would say.
What a great friend. Good job, Chuck. That's so cool. All right. I want to jump in if you're cool with it. Let's talk about Fellowship. You guys, I got to visit a couple times lately some different events that y'all have had, like outreach and missions. And the first one, I think it was like the end of the year, and Brian, we love Brian, had put it together, and it was like representing all of the local outreach that you guys do, all of the global missions.
Right.
And I'm an outreach girl, like Servolution through and through.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, and there are like 40, I don't want to use the word random in a negative sense, but it was the most random set of outreach ideas I've ever seen. I was like, but I loved it. It was like so many very like niche, random, specific ministries. And I was like, where does this come from? Because, you meet with people and are like, oh, these are the 3 things we do, and this is why, and it all funnels here. And I'm not saying there's not strategy to what you guys do.
Right.
I think the strategy is that you empower people to dream and say yes.
Yeah.
But tell me, like,
how does it
just unfold all of this for us?
Well, you mentioned Brian. So there will be a randomness to the strategy and some strategic randomness anytime you work with Brian. Like he's all over the
He's
place.
An outreach guy.
He gets it done.
Yeah.
He can get focused. Brian Robert, he's our missions pastor. He's also part of the original 8 who helped us start the church way back.
Okay.
Yeah, him and his wife.
That's awesome.
So, great friend. So, we have encouraged people to live out their gifts and their calling. And then how do we as a church help with that at times? How do we support that? How do we come alongside you? So most of the ministry partnerships that we have, lots of them, or direct things that we do, just come out of need and people who want to do it, versus
awesome.
Us deciding, hey, here's what we're going to go do.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody love it,
Everybody love it.
We've just allowed the Lord to lead the people of God within the church. And then, some of that has turned into long-time partnerships. Other things have been more seasonal. Like, there's been moments we've been parts of things because we support our people. I think that's how that happened, and
cool.
There are some core things that have to be a part of how we go about doing them. But they don't have to fit a box that we've already prescribed. And so we're very gospel oriented. So if you go back to scripture, it's not just and we have to be careful with this about how we give care in the world. God's called us to love people, right? But it's not just a cup of cold water or a cup of water to the thirsty. It's not just food for the hungry or clothes for the naked or, visiting those who are in prison. It's not just those things. It's in the name of Jesus. And I think sometimes if we're not careful, sometimes as churches, we just can go do the good thing and we really kind of leave the gospel out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's a real big part of how we go about it. Like if we're a part of it, the gospel is going to be presented and talked about. And so we have those core things about how we go about it, but, we're kind of willing to try anything. I mean, that's kind of
I can see that. I love it. I think it's so cool because to me, what defines a successful outreach and missions are the people empowered to see with the eyes of God? Like, have you taught them how to experience needs and identify needs and figure out how to use their talents and passions to make a difference? Not, did you run my play, but like, do you have the discernment? Do you have your spiritual senses awaken? And that's what I see when I visit. Can you tell us like some of the specific, like I have a list of the ones I remember.
All right.
There are so many great ones.
Of just our ministries. Outreaches.
Like Seafarers of Gonzales.
Seafarers of Gonzales. We have
world.
That's not us. I mean, we didn't start that, but we're a partner with them, and they're out of our Baptist Association. And I
live in Gonzales.
Yeah, and you didn't even know about it.
I didn't even know there's a seafarer. What?
It's just really cool spot. I mean, God gave them a great spot too. I mean, it's right there across the parking lot from Walmart. And so the people that get off the boats, I mean, that's where they want to go. They want to go to Walmart. And, Carrie Ash, who leads that, does a great job presenting the gospel to those people and loving on them when they're there. So we have a backpack program, which is through the local schools where we, there's children in our community whose only, steady meal of the day is at the school. And so this sends home a backpack of food every weekend that, helps them and their family have some resources. We have a food pantry that now is run out of the Fellowship Center, which the Fellowship Center has existed for 70 years. We didn't start that, but it had gotten to a place where it didn't have the leadership it needed, and they were looking for help, and they came to us because some people had said, if y'all need some help, y'all ought to go to Fellowship Church. And so Brian met with them, and the whole board, I think minus one position, are now all members of our church. It's its own nonprofit. It's a thrift store, and the proceeds of that thrift store are used for benevolence in our community to help fill the gap for people who are struggling with things. And it's a beautiful ministry, and it's just getting back healthy and good. And I'm so proud of our members and what they're doing there.
Wow. It was named for you.
Yeah, it was already. We were already getting their phone calls. We've been getting their phone calls for years, and so
meant to be.
Now we know. We actually know. Let's see. Other things locally, we have an ESL ministry, English as Second Language.
That's big.
We
tell me about
special needs ministry. That's big.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, we talked earlier. I'm signed up to serve at Night to Shine.
It's such awesome. I'm glad you're coming. It's gonna be an awesome event. We have a deaf ministry.
Okay, that's big too. Wow.
We do disaster relief. So chainsaw crews, mud out crews, we show up. We've done that a lot in our own area, but we also travel to other places. We have a trailer and can haul the equipment.
Louisiana knows a little bit about disaster.
Yeah. We already know about it here. So trying to think about our local partnerships.
I really liked the handyman team.
Oh yeah,
that was
the Go Fix It.
Go Fix It.
Oh, they're awesome. Yeah, they just go out. And if we find out a need in our community, they'll figure out how to go fix it.
It's so incredible.
Wheelchair ramps, repairs, clean up, often it'll be like a widow in our community and things have just gotten out of control, right? Yeah. It's not that, just need somebody to get it back manageable, right? And those kind of things.
I loved seeing how I said all these ideas are random and spread out, but at the event I'm talking about, all the teams were communicating to each other, oh yeah, Miss Francis came here and then she was there. It's not random. This is what community looks like and what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, so a lot of the people we minister in those kind of ways, so-and-so goes to our church, knows this person who has this need, or their coworker told them about somebody that has a need, and then we get connected to it. And people, there's a lot of people that attend our church now and are gotten saved and come to know Jesus Christ as their Savior and Lord, and put their, are serving Him. Those are the kind of the ways we met them,
So amazing.
Wow. I hope I know I'm leaving out. You might have a list. So you might have
this
to tell
was
me.
the one that blew my mind the most.
Okay.
It was the Rosie, I think is what they call it.
Luke 14 Adventures. Luke 15 Adventures.
Okay,
Luke,
what is this?
So that's another nonprofit that exists. National. They have local chapters, and so once you kind of get into the special needs community, you get connected to things. So it's to take people living with disabilities on hikes. And so it's this, it's like this
It's like is it a unicycle type?
It's a unicycle type chair that you can roll, and then it has handles on both sides, and you can have as many as like 4 people on it, and you can lift them. And Brian saw it somewhere, and he's a hiker, outdoor.
Okay.
You know, we both are, and runners, and we love that type of stuff. And
That's so fun.
and so he was like, I want to go try that. And he went somewhere and did it, and just like, oh man, this is awesome. And Jonathan Trumps and some other people, members in our church, just bought in and started the local chapter. I think they just bought their second Rosie, so they can have 2.
So they like put someone who is confined to a wheelchair.
Correct.
Sits on this, and then we
can
have a
take them on a
team.
hike. They can go see places they never would have gone to see. The coolest thing they've done from our local chapter is they got invited by the national organization because they like Brian.
Who doesn't
He's Brian.
like Brian?
And one of our church members was taken by that group to see if they could start doing this. She was the pilot program of something they want to do, and they took her to the Holy Land. And like I should have somehow gotten myself on that trip, like, but I didn't. And
That's
so
how impactful it is.
Yeah, and we're able to help somebody that would normally not be able to experience the Holy Land experience it. Victoria Odom, who's a member of our church.
Whoa.
And,
that is so big.
yeah.
It's little things like that, like those subtle little things that we take for granted, that someone is thinking about who it can't experience this. How can I make this happen?
Yeah.
That's so beautiful to me.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it affects us all in different ways. Like I'm a runner, and I run with an organization called Ainsley's Angels, where we push people in races, people with disabilities. And that's just something I started doing on my own. And I actually shared this with the church recently. A lot of times people think, the church does ministries because the pastor and leaders had this passion. I can't say I was seeing the special needs community the way I do now. It was people in our church who brought that into our church, and it made me aware. And honestly, I looking back at it, I've been running races for a long time, and Ainsley's Angels has been around for a while. So I saw these things happening and never even gave it thought. And then one day I was like, I think I want to try that. And at this point, I basically, unless it's a trail race, I'm not going to run a race unless I'd rather not run a race unless I'm pushing somebody. Like, it's way more fun.
Wow.
It's way more rewarding.
Cool,
like I did the Mardi Gras Mambo last weekend, did the 15K and pushed somebody, and it was awesome. It's a great experience.
So cool.
Yeah. And so I love that, how the church works.
So
like, I have that in my life now because, Alyssa Chauvin, Sarah Ponze were passionate about Night to Shine.
Dude.
That's how it started at Fellowship. Like these 2 ladies and their passion. And they're still leading.
I love that humility that you have too, of just like, I'm gonna fall in love with things because people brought it to me, not because like that's leadership at its finest. Like, some people get it confused, and it's like, no, this is how it works.
Well, the health of church is something I think about a lot. I think and work on leadership and try to help others. And I think a couple of things that I hope church leaders get. I don't know how it happened. Somewhere along the way, as the ministry became more professional, right? So there was more paid. Somewhere we lost the beauty of the fact that, like, I'm a member of Fellowship Church. I'm not just the pastor of it.
Whoa.
Like, I'm a part of it, and I need all the other parts as much as they need me. Like, I'm nothing more than a person who loves Jesus, using the gifts he gave me as he intended in his kingdom.
Wow.
And he gave me leadership gifts and preaching gifts. But I'm just because I'm in the front or in the lead, I'm just being faithful with what he gave me to do. And somebody else who has a different set of gifts, they're being just as faithful to the Lord and his kingdom as I am. And, I think that needs to be reawakened, because what is happening, in my opinion, with too much church leadership is we've confused leadership with control. And so we're always controlling everything. We do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. And there are some things we do. I mean, we have to make some decisions. We're not going to do everything. There's a million ways to serve Jesus, and Fellowship can't do them all. Yeah. But, you have to balance that a little bit. And so, I actually teach a principle to leaders all the time, if you're still controlling it, you haven't even started leading it. Like, you can't.
So deep.
Yeah, you can't. Like, You're just everybody's just doing what you told them. You're not leading them. They have to have power to make decisions, capacity to operate without always because until you stop controlling, all they're going to be thinking is this the way Kirk would do this? Will Kirk approve of this? Is this the right decision Kirk would make? Man, please don't make it
It's a lot of pressure.
I'm not that good. The Holy Spirit's going to talk to you just like he talks to me, and so how about,
I'm sure it's a lot more fun that way.
It is.
Yeah.
And it allows the church, and me, I get affected back because I'm willing to kind of, I lead our church, to think and operate that way, and our leaders to lead and operate that way.
It shows.
And that's why,
beautiful.
Yeah, people love what they're doing.
I've been there 3 times. Yes, it is passion, sincere, genuine, just joy and love for people.
Yeah. But it comes from people also believe that they can do what God called them to do. Mm-hmm.
They're not dependent on you to tell them what they should.
Yeah.
They've learned his voice.
Yeah.
Well
and the
done.
hardest part of that is, to an extent, you gotta handle the business parts correctly, have some budgets and things but once you establish some of that also means people have to have some freedom there, and I think that's where sometimes it's the hardest. Those are the things you have to really give people freedom to here's how we're going to spend money next year in this ministry, and I don't know what they need to be doing. Our church has over 1,500 people every Sunday. I have no idea whether you need a TV in that classroom or not. When was the last time I was with teaching kids? How am I going to decide how that's done? So
that's incredible. I love it. Another big thing that you guys do that I've saved till the end is you partner with us as friends to sponsor is the old word. You guys are friends for the Dizenza Care Point, which you're not just a little bit in. You guys have been part of that. You helped find land, build the building, oversee leadership. Your people are so passionate and supportive and invested. That's family.
Yeah.
What has that journey been like? How'd you land on Dizenza, South Africa?
So, we have several international partnerships. So we have something that's ongoing in Honduras. We have something going on in Haiti. We have an orphanage or transition village in Haiti. We have church planting in a seminary that we work with in Honduras.
All the fun stuff.
Starting something in India. We're probably going to start being a part of something in India this year.
Oh.
And then we've been in Dizenza. So how did that happen? I knew I knew Children's Cup people, right? And they were doing a vision trip. They kept asking me to go on a vision trip.
Yes.
All right.
Come and see.
But I told them, all right, so I refuse to go on a vision trip, but I will go on a mission trip.
Okay.
Because I've been on some vision trips, and that's where pastors like to drive around and look at things. And I was like, if I'm going to go...
Not ours, though.
I want to go do something. I'm not trying to pick on it. I just y'all's are probably great, but I was like, I won't go on a vision trip, but I'll go on a mission trip with you. So there was a kind of an eclectic mission trip that went this time.
Cool.
It was people from all over the place. They were all together. And so I went. And it was in Eswatini. It was Swaziland at the time, but it's Eswatini.
Okay.
And man, I just fell in love with what could take place and the difference that could be made. And
that's cool.
Right about the time was when Children's Cup was moving into the northern part there of South Africa and starting some works. And so I just said, well, where could we plug in? And it was Dizenza. And so I guess maybe a year or so later, we went there for the first time, and we had helped purchase the land.
You guys.
And, I think Edith was already there, and she's unbelievable. She's the leader of the care point there locally. And we just started, we just kind of followed what we were recommended to do with you guys and supported it, sponsored it, started going back, as often as we could.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And we built a church there 2 years ago now. And
it's big.
It is.
That is huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. You guys really just like saw and fell in love with it and got behind it, and like you were family. Like my mom came up here like, oh, Pastor Kirk, we have an update on what's going on in Dyson, because that's your people, like that. And that's our heart, is like when you become a friend of a community, it's life. Like you belong to each other, and it's been so beautiful to see. Yeah,
it's New Hope Fellowship Church there, and they wanted our name in their in their name of their church.
So special.
And I mean, I'll say, like, out of all the things I get to do in ministry, and I've seen God do, when we were there for the opening of the church, my family went. It was just me and my wife and my 2 girls. Daniel was away with the military at the time, but went with me. It was the most humbling. This is like, people talk about how much you're being a benefit to them, but I mean, I would say, I just love being able to be a part of that. Like, I would actually say it this way. Like, I know so many pastors and all the faithfulness that go in, and I don't know why. It's just God's allowed us to do some things that not every church is even capable of doing. Right? They don't have the resources to do something. And I'm just incredibly humbled by it. Like, I don't know why God has seen fit to allow us to do some of the stuff we get to do. Wow. And I love it there. I'm looking forward to being back. You know, our pastor there passed away. It was unfortunately shot in a crossfire thing, and we're trying to move that forward, and I'm just looking forward to being with the people there, and man, I love it. And what y'all do is awesome. Like, it's caring about people. Like, the church there is getting the start it's gotten and been healthy. It's good there in Dizenza, because Dizenza knew about Jesus before there was a church there. Like, you know, and that's how to be, you know, a lot of times, you know, church planting is this, like, we're going to go out and start a church, and out of that, we're going to make disciples. But the truth is, if you look at Acts, they go share the gospel, start making disciples, and a church comes out of it. That's so good. And, you know, that's the strategy y'all are taking with the way y'all approach it, right? That's such a good perspective, yes. And so I love it. Man, I'm so grateful for the partnership, being friends, whatever it's called now. I love being friends. It's great. I mean, we're ready to go back. We are just so grateful to get to just connect the dots. Like, you guys, oh my gosh, the impact. And it's like, just to see the I keep saying that, but the sincerity of heart behind it that you have personally, that the whole church has. Like, it's not just, oh, I did a good deed and gave and supported, but like, you're seeing with your own eyes how there is transformation. It is so personal. Like, this is real life, changing kids' entire futures. And it's in a random like, of all the communities in the whole world, God was like, Dizenza, that's y'all. Yeah. You know, so one of our core actions at our church is to keep it real, which we talk about living authentic and unique in Christ. So authentic is just having real relationships, seeing yourself in a real way, seeing others in a real way. That's good. And then being unique, God gave you gifts and abilities, use them. And I love that authenticity to it, you know, is, I mean, you know, it's real for us. I mean, I love it. I love that we get to do those things. And, you know, God's kind of challenged my heart. Even last time we were there, I'm now getting to kind of invest in pastors in that area and it's so cool. And out of that, I got to go see some of the existing care points, I guess a couple that are called feeding sites that are not yet care points. And then one place that's just like blank land that's not even a feeding site yet. Like, so I kind of got to see some of those stages, and, you know, so if there's a little vision trip into your mission trip. And so, I mean, I would tell if any pastors listen to this and he's not, you know, you don't know where your church is going to go. Like, my church right now, like, they've given me the ability to do this. So I have some funds to help pay for half of a mission trip for another pastor. Oh, wow. 'Cause giveaway. Come with me on the next mission trip. And
so
we'll pay
cool.
half of it if your church will pay half of it. Because what I would love to do is, my goal is to see every care point and feeding site in the region we're in South Africa have a partner church like we do. So like, we want to help Children's Cup have those partners. Like that's our those friends. And so, if you're listening and you want to go, if you're listening and you want to tell your pastor about it, you can get a 50% off mission trip.
We'll put that in the post.
Yeah.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, and he gets to stay where, the place Karen has,
Karen's place.
Villa.
I haven't been able to go yet. I'm so
my
excited.
Gosh.
Oh,
it's kind of funny.
Lord.
You go minister and you like stay at the nicest place you've ever been. But anyway.
There's no shame in that.
There's no,
okay.
yeah, it's fun. The food
that
is
is
fantastic.
so generous, though.
So,
I can't wait to see who signed up.
Me either.
That's going to be so cool. I love it. Okay, I have a couple more little questions.
All right.
One is just for the friends who are listening. Maybe they've identified with just feeling like you said that call. Like, I know I have a call of God on my life, or I know he's tugging me to go deeper, but I'm wrestling with it. I don't know how to plug in. I don't know, like, what I'm fearful of what steps to take. But then they hear all these, like, how beautiful life can be when you do go and say yes. What would you give them advice? Next step, how do I jump in?
Well, we're called to operate in wisdom.
Yeah.
So, understand as best you can what you're going to do.
That's good.
But you can't see the end. And so you just got to go do it at some point. Like when we moved here to plant a church, I didn't know anyone in Prairie. I'd visited Prairieville twice to find a house, and bought a house I had to use a map to find.
Oh my gosh.
And so like,
Prairieville.
and we look back at it sometimes, and Wendy and I'll laugh about it. Like, we're not sure if it was faith or some of it was just audacity or foolishness. Like, there was no idea that like we were going to go there and it wasn't going to work until we got into some seasons. Like, it didn't,
Wow.
We're not one of those churches that blew up. Like, we stayed the course and slow and steady, and God's been good. But so what I would just tell people is like, man, you got to go in with your head on. I mean, like, there's going to be hardship. Mm-hmm. The Lord promised you that, by the way. Sometimes we leave that out of what we say out of the Bible. The Lord's promised us hardship.
Yeah.
He's promised us that we'll go through it, but he's also promised us he'll be with us. And so, I mean, you just got to get to it at some point. But, I would say get some wisdom.
That's good.
Get some advice. Know what you're doing as best you can. But you got to leave room for God to do what God's going to do. There's old, I don't know, just you. But here's the thing. I think sometimes when people are struggling with a call, I think God wants me to do this. I'm not sure it's the Lord. I don't know if you ever heard, but I'm not sure this is the Lord. Here's what I tell them all the time is like, you're not so innately a good human being without the forgiveness of Christ and the Holy Spirit in you that you would have thought of such a loving, wonderful thing and have a passion to do it out of your own humanity and flesh. Our humanity and flesh is sinful.
True.
So if that's in your heart, like, that's the Lord. Like, but don't just start. Like, figure out where you're going. Be smart about it. Get some support, get some wisdom, get some counsel, get some accountability.
Yeah, that's good. I love that.
And
you never know, like, where your calling is going to inspire others to say yes to theirs,
that's
too.
Right.
Like, going back to your story with Chuck, like,
yeah, that's right.
He followed with a passion, and look at what you're doing around the whole world now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
He talks about that, like, when, he knows what he meant in my life, and it means a lot to him that God's,
It's so cool that you honor him for that. Like, he gets to see the full circle. Give us some homework. What should we listen to? Is there a book that we should be reading? What's fresh in your library?
All right.
It doesn't have to be a book. Anything.
Well, I do have a book. It's not fresh in my library, but it's on leadership, and I lead out with it. It's called The Way of the Shepherd.
Ooh. This is your book?
What?
You wrote it?
No.
Oh, okay. The Way of the Shepherd.
I have 2 books I'm supposedly writing, but
ooh, I'm on
I'm a little ADD for that, so it's being hard to actually finish anything. But it's an incredible book on just incredibly simple principles of leadership that we use. We use it in all of our leadership training. Like, it's kind of like our leadership textbook, and it's a fun read at the same time. So it's really, really good.
Okay. Who is that by?
Pentak and Lehman.
Got it. Okay.
Pentak and Leman, I think.
We'll link
two
that.
guys. The Way of the Shepherd.
I love it.
I'm not so.
Or even like rhythms. Like you have a routine. You have like do you do yoga anymore?
I don't do any yoga. I lift weights 3 times a week with a friend at the church member, and then I run about 3 times a week. So about 6 days a week, I get some exercise in. Some
self-care.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got to do that. We love adventure. So my family, it's not just mission adventure. We just do adventure. We do both.
It's just who you are.
Yeah, like, if we're going to travel, we're going to, book a legit mountain climbing experience where we're using ropes and learning how to climb a mountain, or we're going to take surfing lessons and we're going to learn how to surf. And, we can't do that all the time. I can't afford to go do that all the time. But, I think that's good and healthy to just have that. I mean, embrace all the opportunities, and
that's great. That's so good.
I think you have to take those moments for yourself. But I think, other things that I would encourage people to, be listening to is, or looking at. Do you have a really good way to take in Scripture on a regular basis that's not just reading somebody else's thoughts on it, but putting yourself in a place where you directly hear from the Lord? And so I'm real big on reading plans and not always devotional books. There's some that are great out there, but you need some of that in your life where you're just learning how to ask yourself, hey, what did this say to the group it was originally written to?
Yeah.
What is God saying to everyone from it? Okay, what is God saying to me? And those 3 always line up, And so I encourage people to do that. Like right now, it's a popular theme, and I've let, no matter how good you get at teaching and leading, man, always be taking in content. So I'm doing the Bible recap.
Cool.
Right now.
Cool.
It's new for me. Tara Lee Koppel, I think's her name. And so I'm doing that one. My wife and I are doing it at the same time. That's another thing I would tell people for their marriage. We don't sit down and do a Bible study together, but we like to study through the same thing so that it can spur meaningful conversation on spiritual things.
That's really good.
So that's kind of how we do that. Invite my kids into that too, now that they're not kids. Preacher-wise, there's people always asking me that one. I'm a big Craig Rochelle guy. I love to listen to him preach. I think J.D. Greer, his book, he's got a couple of books. Which one is? He's got a book called Gospel. People probably ought to check out.
Okay. Got some good first
J.D. Greer. There
reads.
is Summit Church. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So J.D. Greer, Summit Church, and the amount of missionaries they're putting out is just is amazing. So
that is incredible. Okay.
Yeah. So those are some of the things, I guess.
I love it.
And here's the other thing, I guess, the other rhythm that's important, I think, is pray.
That's good.
Actually pray, and which doesn't mean just talk. And so here's what I would say is, a lot of people, I'm not very good at prayer. People come into my office, I have a lot of books, and they're like, man, you must just be great at prayer. Look at this huge section of books on prayer. And I actually tell them, the truth is I struggle to pray. And so I've studied and learned how to pray. I've had to work at prayer. I'm a little ADD guy, and always have been, Jesus, you're not talking to me fast enough. We got something else to go do, and so,
it takes patience.
But man, I really pray.
That's so good.
And and I love worship music while I'm running. I'm real big on that.
Okay.
I love worship music while I'm running. So yeah.
Okay. Is it upbeat worship music? I got angry music.
It doesn't have to be.
I need anger.
It doesn't have to be when I'm running. When I work out, we like to do the Christian hip hop and rap and all that. But when I'm running, it depends. So it'd be kind of weird. But sometimes I'm just running for far and whatever, the pace is okay. I don't have to. Wow. But if I need to push the pace, I need a little bit more rhythm in my music. Yeah, I need a little bit more. If I'm trying to run faster.
Okay. Cool. So, I don't think that running is leisure anytime. So
I tell people all the time, running's no fun until you get good enough at it to where you're not miserable while you're running.
Kind of like prayer. I'm just
kidding. It is it's an art. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
That's cool. That's a lot. That's a very holistic answer. I like it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And
Good.
yeah, take care of your marriage.
You
know, take time with your spouse. Be full in with your kids. Like even planning a trip where I need to get to South Africa.
Yeah.
I'm not available till basketball season ends.
I love that.
Like I don't miss her games.
So good. That's a
you know, I've always, but then again, I had those parents. Like I was raised that way. You know.
That's cool.
My dad would come watch a game and go back to work.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Really, best.
Very intentional.
Yeah.
I love that.
Learned how to be a parent because I had great ones. So.
That's so cool. I love that so much. How can we follow you or and Fellowship, social media, all the good stuff?
So I think we're at Fellowship LA at everything.
Mm-hmm.
At Fellowship LA.
Okay.
It's fcascension.com. I am K Pastor J on any social media that I am on. I don't know how they got there. We call it my preacher rapper name, but I don't really rap.
K Pastor J.
K Pastor J. You're not going to find a whole lot on my social media.
That's
like
fair.
I'm not. Maybe one day I'll get better at it.
That's cool.
I'm not on TikTok.
Not yet.
I'm not there
Not
yet.
yet.
But I have Instagram and Facebook.
Cool.
I think there's still an X account out there with my name on it, but I haven't logged into it. I kind of got to where I didn't really like being in that
So
space.
funny.
So, but at Fellowship LA.
Okay. Perfect.
And
FC Go app if you want to see
FC
what
Go
they're
app.
doing. GEAUX.
GEAUX, yeah. So that's how you can find out anything we have coming up that's out of our outreach missions, and you can sign up directly right there. It's a great little app they put together.
It's super cool.
And once you sign up for something,
ideas for kindness.
That's right.
Like there's so many cool.
Yeah, so you can
cool
download
things.
download that in any app store. So yeah, it's FCGAUX Go app.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. This
Well-
was so inspiring, so good.
Well, I appreciate it.
Encouraging.
And
For me, I'm like, all right, I'm inspired. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna start running. Not really. I'm just kidding.
run for the Lord. And man, thank y'all for what y'all are doing. If you're friends with Children's Cup or you're considering becoming one, like take a shot at it. Go see what they're doing. Be a part of it. Like you're not gonna regret it. Y'all are great partners. We love your heart, and so thank y'all for. This is where partnerships make the difference. Is y'all do a great job of showing us appreciation, even like asking me to come do this and stuff. But I just shared earlier about how just like the most meaningful thing to me in ministry in some ways is just being able to see that we've been allowed to do something like that in Dazinza.
Wow.
We wouldn't be living out what God's allowed us to do if y'all hadn't invited us along. And I think that's how it's intended to work, right? But like, man, we have a deep appreciation, just like our relationship with the North American Mission Board and the Southern Baptist Convention. Fellowship Church exists because they supported us. Like, and I don't ever want to take those partnerships for granted, like,
Incredible.
I give thanks for you for our partnership with the gospel from the beginning until now. Like, that's what Paul wrote back to the churches that had supported him. And like,
Amazing.
we need more of that. We need to remember that, right? Like we have
so cool. Yeah.
Anything that Lord's allowing you to do, somebody else was used by the Lord for you to get there.
Whoa.
And
that's so deep.
That
is the heart of friendship.
Yeah, and
the reciprocal is the body.
It's the body.
I love it.
It's
We're
awesome.
so grateful for y'all.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on Friend to Friend.
All right.
Peace out. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. We hope you loved it. If anything stuck out to you, drop a comment and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun things. And if you're looking for us on social media, you can find us at Children's Cup.